and welcome back to my channel. And y'all know what time it is. Now that I have re-entered the beauty stratosphere, I've been sort of out of it for at least half a year at this point, maybe even longer. Makeup just hasn't been a thing that I've sort of been involved with since, you know, coming back from Tennessee, getting my night shift job, the fact that my house doesn't have a central AC, and the fact that it's been hot as all get out. A lot of different factors going into why I've sort of not been as deep into the beauty community, makeup, whatever. But as most of you all know, we have come back. We are back on the YouTubes. I would like to start creating more content for my channel. Y'all have seen I've been doing some more beauty shiz, I've been doing some other shiz, and I figured we've reached the point where it is my due diligence to y'all to provide you with some sassy rhetoric for an anti-haul. And just as an FYI, y'all gonna hear my fan, y'all gonna hear my little AC unit. It is hot. I got lights, I sweat like a whatever. So I just figured I'd let y'all know that now. But we have got a lot to cover. I do not know if we're gonna be able to get through all of this. I definitely have some products that I have some very opinionated opinions on. We're gonna get a little bit all up in what in here because I got some things where I'm just like, I hate it. I hate it. We have multiple products on here like that. We got products on here where I'm like, are we back? Are we reliving the 2013 beauty community nightmare? That's what I feel like. We are trapped on this sort of never-ending roller coaster of shilling the same thing to us over and over and over and over again. So without further ado, we are going to go into all of these products, and like I say with every anti-haul and just about every video where I'm talking about things that are my opinion, this is in fact just my opinion. If you love any of these products, you've bought any of these products, you're planning on buying any of these products, that is absolutely fan-tucking-fastic. You keep doing you, boo-boo, and I will keep doing me, and me is absolutely shiz-talking a lot of these products. So let's just get into it. All right, let's start off with Colourpop. As y'all know, for any of y'all who've been on this channel for any amount of time, you all know that when it comes to the anti-haul, Colourpop is typically a repeat offender. They've always got something that they've released where I'm just like, that's dumb. That's stupid. That's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Colourpop is ridiculously redundant at this point. It's a tough battle for me to fight because I got shiz that I absolutely love by Colourpop. I'm wearing the little Tinkerbell something something palette right now. Also, if I look off in that direction for whatever reason, this is a different camera. Different phone, and the camera's like over here on that side, and it's like long ways, and I'm all kinds of whatever, so I'll apologize for that. But we have got the Colourpop X Peeps, which in hindsight isn't too disgusting, isn't too crazy, because it's like, oh, here's the super shock shadow for like the pink peep and the blue peep, and I'm like, all right, that isn't disgustingly offensive. It's just sort of a same old Colourpop X some sort of licensed material. That is one thing that Colourpop loves to do, is it's like there's an intellectual property, there's a thing that might have a fan base, we gotta make some makeup based on that shiz. And then we've also got from Colourpop, sort of on the same vein as what we've got the Colourpop Green Tinkerbell Redo palette. Like, again, I always find it so interesting with Colourpop how in some companies and some brands, it's like, all right, we're going to end up duping ourselves out. But Colourpop is a company that repeatedly dupes its own self out. It's like, we've released this thing that's like this. We're like, okay, all right. And then they come in and they re-release a very similar product. Like, we're going to call it something else. And I'm like, that's basically the same shiz that you released last time, but you're going to release it now under a new name, under a new gimmick, under a new whatever. They just keep taking the same shades and rearranging them in another palette, a different size palette, and then they're going to shill it out to us. And y'all know when it comes to anything green, I always give it a second glance. And I did. I gave this a second glance. I was like, green. I was like, I already have that green, quite literally. Oh, we've got the Colourpop Rock Candy Mega Palette. We've got the, oh my goodness, Colourpop. The Set in Stone Twist of Slate. I mean, on their own, these things aren't anything that's like, oh, that's offensive, that's whatever. But again, when you put it in comparison and you juxtapose it against everything else that Colourpop has released, because at this point, they're just a machine that just keeps churning out the same kind of makeup over and over again. You know, they've released these shades in their big palettes. They've released these shades in their little 4-pan palettes. And they're just taking the same shades and rearranging them a little bit and calling them Set in Stone and Twist of Slate. They're like, oh, we're gonna give it a cute little socially something relevant name, like when everyone was jumping on the crystal thing, and they're like, ooh, quartz this and quartz that. And I just don't have time for any of Colourpop's nonsense. I was literally going through trend mood, just scrolling through and being like, all right, well, let me get caught up. Let me see what's happening. The one nice thing is the fact that it does seem like there is a lot less being released. If you take that into comparison to previous years, I'm like, all right, I'm not quite as backed up as I thought I would be. But while I was going through and looking through, I'm like, that's dumb. That's lame. There's literally like 2, 3, probably 5 things tops in like the whole time that I've been gone that I would actually be like, I would like to buy that and review that on my channel. Everything else just was not doing it for me. And then I would like to go into the trend of reliving 2011, 12, 13, because we've got a lot of rehashing that looks really pretty. It's like a throwback in not a good way. They're like, look, we're starting to do this again. I'm like, I thought we grew out of that a couple years ago. We've got the Dose of Colors new brown palettes. I mean, Dose of Colors. I remember when those little like 8-pan, however many pan, little monochromatic palette came out. Everyone loved the Dose of Colors. They're like, oh, look at these palettes. Everybody wanted them. Everyone had them. You had the berries, you had the bronze and the siennas and the everything like that. And people were collecting that shiz like Pokemon. I wanted so bad. I wanted to be the it girl who had all the Dose of Colors monochromatic palettes. They were like $32 and I never bit the bullet. And I'm not going to bite the bullet on these because it's just, I mean, they're very, very similar looking. And I look at them and I'm like, hail to 2014, 2013, it just looks, I am transported back to the time of those original Dose of Color palettes, and these just aren't doing it. And then again, on that same trend, a trend of yonder year, Jeffree Cosmetics, which is a brand that I have several palettes by that I absolutely love. I don't even know, oh, I do have the name. It's the Moment palette, which is, we are coming back, we are bringing back the insipid, awful pop of blue gimmick where they're like, let's throw together a bunch of kind of neutrally boring whatever shades and let's make it exciting, let's make it springy, let's make it summery and give it a pop of blue. I think back to anti-hauls of years past. I think back to watching Kimberly Clark and watching so many people just doing the anti-hauls, and we dealt with the pop of blue, and now it looks like we're going back to it. We're doing it again, and I'm not happy. The whole pop of color thing, I feel, is one of the most like dishonest ways to produce a palette, because they're like, all right, we're going on here, we have all this color theory, and then we're just gonna pop a color in it. We're just gonna stick a blue, a green, a purple, a pink, something that has nothing to do with the other shades correlating in the palette, but that's gonna give it intrigue. That's gonna make it interesting. It's like, ooh, this palette is so versatile because it has a pop of color in it. And another throwback is the Tartelette Blush Trio. Y'all know that back in the day, your girl loves a face palette. I love me a blush palette, a highlight blush palette, not so much a contour palette because I don't contour in bronze because I don't. But looking at that, I was like, woo, we bringing blush palettes back? Because I remember back when Tarte was like, blush palettes every year for Christmas. And everyone was like, woo, F me up on that Tarte blush palette. I was the same way. I bought a whole bunch of them. Pretty sure I decluttered a whole bunch of them. I think I decluttered all my Tarte blushes and the majority of my blush palettes by them. And so seeing a blush palette pop up, I'm just like, oh no, we're going back in time. We are literally regressing with the kind of makeup we're releasing. Don't get me wrong. I love me a blush palette, but when you take everything into consideration and all the other shiz that people are releasing and everything like that, it's just churning up old memories of makeup past. And then if we're going to talk about Tarte, we might as well talk about Tarte. And that would be the Tarte Tartelette Full Bloom palette, which is another palette that's just basically taking the same thing over and over and over again and packaging it in a tired old something and reselling it. I just saw it and I was like, oh no, we coming out with another Tartelette palette. Now we've got the Tartelette Big palettes, the Full Bloom palette rather than in the In Bloom and the Toasted. And I'm just going through, like I said, I was going through and like maybe there's probably going to be so many things that I'm going to want because I have a hard time saying no to shiz. And I saw this and I'm just like, oh, it's just a big palette of stuff that I don't want, of soft, slightly, subtly rosy shades. We've got more of the same. Instead of just having it in a small palette, we're putting it in a larger palette and giving us even more redundancy that we didn't ask for. It's just so tired. We are beating the horse. The horse is dead. The horse has been dead for years. And we're still continuously abusing the poor thing with all of these redundant and pointless makeup releases. Let's talk about one that annoys me on a different level. This is one of those things where I saw it and I'm like, I mean, that's marketing. That is marketing at its finest, but I still don't like it. And that is the Supreme X chapstick. And I'm like, Supreme is a luxury brand, although I think they're like mid-tier luxury price point, but nothing, when it comes to consumerism, nothing gets me going more than seeing a super expensive bougie brand be like, we're trying to market and be relatable to the other 99% of the population who wants to buy our stuff but is too poor to do it. So let's partner with Chapstick and give them an opportunity to have some Supreme in their poor, sad little lives. Or at least that's what I took from the release. I'm not sure about anyone else. I love me some chapstick. That's just got all the kinds of energy of just like trying desperately to be relatable. It's like anytime some kind of high-end something is like, we are partnering with an affordable whatever so that we can reach that other demographic and make it seem like we are being this noble, making this noble contribution to the industry. I like chapstick and Supreme. I hate it's like Chanel being like, all right, let's put our logo on some chapstick. And I'm like, no, not about that life. I'm not going to be buying any Supreme chapstick. Then pulling it then back again to 2013, Fenty Beauty have released a contour palette, which is a product that I feel is very like old school contour palettes. That was during the era where everyone was like, well, we need the Anastasia Beverly Hills contour palette for our kits. I love it. I have it in 3 million shades. We've got the powder one and the cream one, and it's amazing. And then the reality sort of hit that contour palettes, to make them inclusive, it's difficult because you're going to have half the shades that aren't going to work for one person and then vice versa. It's like if I'm dark, You know, I'm not going to use the light shiz. If I'm light, I'm not going to use, you know. It's one of those things that's just sort of like if you buy it, inevitably there is going to be something that you are not able to use. And so I see contour palettes and bronzing palettes that have that color spectrum, unless you're a makeup artist, unless you're someone that goes through really, really intense color changes throughout the year. This is mostly what I look like, and this is me after getting a bit of sun. I am pasty as all get out. Why I no longer buy bronzer and contour palettes. Although they look really pretty, the gradation does call to a certain something in my soul. But it just felt like, again, such a throwback of like, oh, we're doing bronzer palettes again. We're bringing that shiz back, even though I thought we kind of got to the point where we were like, okay, you know, or at least if we were releasing them, we were like, all right, there's a gradient of complexions, a gradient of skin colors. So we're going to do for like light and medium and dark and extra dark and deep delicious chocolate. But no, we're just doing the whole light to dark, you know, get effed if you can't find your shade and, you know, you're buying it and there are ones that you're not going to be able to use. I feel like it's tired, it's done, it should be retired. Now we're going to talk about something that quite a few of you messaged me about when they were being released. Again, this is old. This is all old news. I am out of the it and the no crowd of what's coming out, right? I just kind of watched by the sidelines. I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. Oh, that's ugly. And so many of y'all sent me messages. Were like, what do you think about this? And to be completely honest, I hate it. I hate it with every fiber of my being. Excuse me, burp squad. And that is not one, but two releases from Jeffree Cosmetics. And if any of y'all know me, probably know what we're talking about. First up for scrutiny is that awful Beauty Killer 2 palette. I saw that, and for the first time, I like recoiled. I was like, Jeffree! No. Like when I had the Bloodlust, and I gave that one all kind of shiz, that one is at least a bit coordinated, and I use it and I love it. I look at this shiz and I'm like, great. We went back to square one. We literally took the same energy that the Beauty Killer 1 had, which was a bunch of shades, and you know, I gave him all kinds of whatever because that was his first palette. I'm like, all right, gotta work out the duds. Gotta, you know, you do your first and then you refine it. I thought we had reached a point of refinement, and then we took that chaotic, unorganized energy and we puked out another Beauty Killer palette that's just in my personal opinion is just absolutely ugly. There is nothing about it that makes me think, yeah, that is something, because I used to be, y'all know I used to be like, if a brand that I like released a palette, I gotta have it because it's a whole family. No. This is a disowned family member. This is an estranged family member that I'm not going to be inviting to Thanksgiving, Christmas, or Easter. I just saw it and I was like, really? That's what we're doing? In today's market, that's what we're doing? I mean, I have been, you all know this, I was a fan of Jeffree's music back during the MySpace era, Warped Tour and all that shit. Beauty Killer, the album and the song was my shit. I have yet to see him take that theme of Beauty Killer and make an iconic palette surrounded by that theme. Instead of like zeroing in on it and being like, let's make a cohesive palette, he's taking just colors and being like, all right, let's vomit into a palette and call it Beauty Killer. Don't like it. And then the big one, the banana Fetish. I mean, I saw the teaser, I saw the whatever. I hate it. I hate it. It's this sad, pitiful. I'm like, banana Fetish. He's probably getting making all kinds of funny summer phallic whatever inside jokes, metaphors, and shiz. But looking at it without that, just looking at the palette, it's a bunch of these like slight, pasty, not really saturated browns, which if I want unsaturated browns from him, I'm going to use the Orgy palette. I mean, let's just be real about it. And then this man who for years I have touted as being one of the best curators of colored palettes. Blood Sugar, Blood Money, Blue Blood. I am a fan of all of those. They're beautifully curated in my opinion. And then he has the audacity, the absolute balls to give us a palette that has all of these soft, pasty, not exciting, not exhilarating, not thrilling, neutral shades. And then he's gonna pop, I think, a yellow. I've tried to burn it from my brain, but I do know that there is a pop of blue. I was just like, Jeffree. In what makeup economy is he resorting to a pop of blue in a palette? Like, these are sad, sad times when you've got Jeffree Cosmetics, that for me was a tried and true for many years. I got all them palettes, the formula, the color theories, right? And then this. And it's just, it is a boil on the butt of his makeup career. I see it and I'm like, there is nothing, not a single cell, not a single fiber of my being that is interested in having anything to do with that palette. I hate it. I hate it so much. And this is the first time I have ever talked about a Jeffree Star palette and been like, I hate it. I hate it. It's the worst thing ever. It's just, it saddens me. And it's just I'm like, really Banana Fetish, which is kind of out there in left field. I mean, you could have gone all different sorts of ways and we chose the banana metaphor so that we could have a yellow and a pop of blue. These are dark times in the makeup verse. All right, let's talk another I hate it topic. I've been made aware at this point as of filming that Jared Blandino and someone else in the Too Faced owning whatever, they sold that shiz, or they already sold it to Estee Lauder. They left. They have gone. The ship was burning. It was sinking. It was on fire. We had pirates coming all up into it, and they're like, all right, we're going down. We're going to hell in a handbasket. Everything's lit on fire. Let's jump ship while we can. So I understand with new ownership and people leaving and new people coming in that there is a certain amount of rebranding, reestablishing that is done. You know, it's a new era. It's new people, new directive. I mean, it really was just sort of a Two-Faced going down into whatever, and Jared was like, all right, have fun, take the wheel, I'm out. And so we have the Better Than Chocolate, which I have talked about in length, the tiredness, the sadness that is the chocolate theme. I think we hit about chocolate gold, and then shiz started to just kind of deteriorate. You know, we had the white chocolate, and that was bad, and it just kind of became tired renditions of a theme that isn't relevant anymore. So I understand the standpoint where we're like, okay, we're reestablishing. We have to, God only knows what palettes, what products we're going to use. Too Faced is very good at discontinuing products and not telling anyone about it. They just kind of disappear from the market. I'm thinking about maybe potentially grabbing me a Sweet Peach palette, because for a while there, that palette was my ever-loving shiznit. That was my ride or die, and I would love to kind of dip back into that. I got rid of mine because mine was old. It was the first launch, not even the second launch, so it was time to let it go. But then we've got the Better Than Chocolate, which is like, okay, all right. And you look at it and you're like, okay, all right, it's a rebranded chocolate bar amalgamation. There isn't anything better about it. They just have to say that it's better so that they can distance themselves from the original chocolate bar stream. They're like, all right, we're retiring that shiz. It's like Urban Decay. They're like, all right, we're getting rid of some of the Naked palettes, and then we're going to take Naked and we're literally going to slap that shiz on anything and just be like, it's Naked. It's naked ultraviolet. It's naked Wild West. It's naked neon fantasy sex bomb. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, I'm good. I am so good. Too Faced is definitely one of those that's really stuck on that karmic wheel. They haven't been able to get enough good points to get off of it, and they're just going in circles. And then in that same vein, we've got Born This Way Sunset Stripped, which is, again, a variation on a theme. And the Born This Way was like, we're inspired by our foundation, which Too Faced doesn't have a very good foundation range. At least it wasn't Tarte trying to be all like, we're inspired by our foundation range. And it would be 20 Shades of Beige, 20 Shades of Taupe, Ecru, Eggshell. Not a lot of deepness going on there. And so again, it just looks the same. I understand the rebranding and the setting themselves apart and doing the new world and doing new things, but they're not doing new things. They're simply just trying to rebrand and redo Too Faced in a way that keeps it the same. It's not being innovative. It's not being interesting. It is using the same tired tropes while desperately trying to start a new era that is still stuck in the previous era. All right, here's another one that offended me because I saw it for a split moment. For a moment, I was like, what? I had a brief moment of interest in this. I was like, oh my goodness, is this going to be my reinsurgence into this brand? Am I going to buy this palette and break how many years of not buying from them? And that is Urban Decay. And they had the audacity with these releases. The Urban Decay, the Wild Greens. And y'all know I heard green and I was, green? Wild Greens? Green? I lose my shiz every single time. I will admit, if there's a pop of green in a palette, I'll at least, oh, that's a cute green. Do I have that particular green in my collection? Green is my weakness. And then I looked at it and I was like, it's not green. I mean, they're like the wild greens. I'm like, come on, Urban Decay. F me up. Urban Decay of the early 2000s is rolling in its grave. Looking at this. What happened to the electric palette? What happened to Urban Decay of yesteryear that was the company to get edgy, amazing, bright colors? They were the brand that did it. And then moving forward to 2022, we're in a post-apocalyptic makeup era where they show us this and they have the audacity to call it the Wild Greens palette. No! It's like a neutrally palette with it's the LaCroix of green palettes. I mean, looking at this makes me more upset than the Jeffree Star Bloodlust, the kind of hint of purple. This is just, it's sad. It's so tired. It's so generic. It's so uninteresting. It is beyond basic, especially for a brand that used to be on the forefront of, it was beauty with an edge, which apparently hasn't been their tagline for quite some time, which is good because their edge is dead. It is dull. It is tired. It could not cut through Jell-O. And then if I'm talking about Urban Decay, I might as well talk about the new additions to the Naked family. See, this is where I'm talking about when a theme is tired. A theme is ready to go off into the sunset and just die. And those are these. Audacity. They're like, we're gonna market this and pretend that no one's gonna know that it's complete bull. I'm like, no, we know. I mean, you look at them and they give these shiz. You're like, look at this, the neon green packaging and the neon pink packaging and the neon yellow packaging. And then inside of it are slightly different tonal neutrals. Like, okay, we got some cool tones, some slightly, just a hint, a touch, a whisper, a breath of slightly rosy in the one, and then they're like, make a little bit more cool, a little bit more desaturated over. I mean, when you're giving me neon packaging and you open up that shiz and you've got them basic neutrals, I'm gonna throw hands. Someone is I'm not happy, and someone is going to pay for the disappointment of opening up that shiz and giving me the neutrals and trying to be all like, ooh, it's edgy and electric and amazing. It's like when they did those like ones, those like 5-pan or 6-pan ones, and they were like the electric, and they had like one, it was a pop, it was neutrals, and it was a pop of pink, a pop of green, and a pop of something. And I'm like, y'all are just wilding out here. They're really counting on us being as stupid as they think we are. Because I just look at it and I'm like, no. Could you imagine? I would lose my shiz if they had actually done those and been like, we're going to give you a green gradation mini palette, a red gradation mini palette. I would have been like, F me up. Yes. Yes. Back to what we want to be. Back to color, back to the actual basics of what Urban Decay. I mean, it has nothing. It's sad. It's so pitiful. It's just like, I'm like, take them out and shoot them. The poor thing. It's gonna come out, no one's gonna buy it, and then it's gonna go on sale. So much of the new makeup coming out just has sale vibes. I'm like, all right, it's coming out. Give me 3 months and it's going to be 50% off. I feel nothing. I am numb to the makeup releases that are being released, which is good. Because then my wallet, I've literally got like 5 things that I want to buy and review. And I'm like, I'll be good. I'll be good. Thank God they're not releasing things that are good, because, you know, then my wallet would be like, so sad. I mean, I'm sad about the state of the makeup we're releasing, but I'm happy because that means I'm going to be adding less to my collection. The audacity. And then we have the Lorac unzipped. We're going back to the whole unzipped thing. And I was looking at that and I'm like, and I'm 23 again. I am back living in my Linden house. I've got my Lorac Mega Pros. I've got my Lorac Unzipped. You know, we have attempted to add new additions to the unzipped family. I think I still have the blush palettes. Those are amazing. Lorac face products are disgustingly underrated. But then when you're like, oh, the Lorac Unzipped. I'm like, all right. It's a little pinkier version. It has what looks like it pressed glitters in it. Lorac, how dare you? How dare you put pressed glitters in an unzipped palette? Oh my goodness. I'm living in this makeup fueled fever dream of the past, and I'm just like, am I 23 again? I'm a 32-year-old woman, and I feel like I'm reliving my young 20s looking at this shiz. We have regressed in such a significant way. It's just like, there's no going back now. It's just, and I understand. Not everyone wants to do their makeup like I do. This is for being green. This is subtle. This is simple. I'm usually drag, full beat, crazy color, wig, ensemble. I am very alternative, and I understand not everyone wants a palette of deep, beautiful, amazing saturated green. Not everyone wants to wear red eyeshadow, but long gone are the days of Anastasia Beverly Hills modern renaissance being revolutionary. Long gone are the days when the Naked palettes were relevant and the Too Faced palettes were relevant. And at this point, we're just desperately trying to resurrect themes and ideas that just aren't working anymore. They're just not cutting it anymore. Give me something new. Give me something fresh. Give me something thought through. Give me something that just isn't that same old tired. It's just like Urban Decay's. I think the last neat thing they did was like the Elements palette, and that was like forever ago. And now Urban Decay and Too Faced and Tarte and all of those brands that at one point were at the forefront of the makeup industry are just kind of falling back in the race, and they seem pretty content to be doing so. I think I've talked about all the stuff I want to talk about, and if I talk about anything else, I'm probably going to give myself an aneurysm. My eyeballs are going to bust out of my head because the tomfoolery that is happening within makeup being released. Someone, a gal on Twitter was all like, is it just me? Or does the makeup, whatever, seem very dry right now? And I'm like, we are the Sahara Desert up in here begging for something more than little mini naked palettes, neutral naked palettes in neon packaging. I'm tired. I look back and I was like, oh, it's gonna be so. Ooh, if I go back into the beauty community, I'm gonna want to buy everything. No, no, we have reached a level of peak saturation where I'm just like, there aren't even things I'm really wanting to buy anymore. Even from brands that I'm like super uber into, even like ones I'm like, yeah, that's okay. I think the only things I'm interested in is there's Melt Cosmetics, there's Lunar Beauty, Give Me Glow. They've got 2 palettes that look really pretty. But all of the heavy hitters like Urban Decay, Too Faced, you know, Kat Von D. I don't even know if KVD is even a thing anymore. I just don't know. We're just fizzling out at this point, and I'll continue to do beauty content as long as I whatever, but it is sad, y'all. It is pitiful out here in these foothills. All right, well, that was my first anti-haul introduction to me coming back to the channel. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited to start creating more content, regardless of if it's beauty related or any other kind of related. I am going to be keep it pushing. I'm going to be doing makeup rotation. For all of you who've seen my declutter, I'm going to do the use it or lose it. So we are going to get more beauty content coming in, but filming for me is just a lot more of a casual thing when I'm feeling it, you know, when I want to do it. So today I was just like, I've got to film the I've got to do it. Got to give the people what they want, and that is sassy anti-consumerist rhetoric. But I hope you all enjoyed that. Would love to hear y'all's opinions about the products I talked about. If they're amazing, you have them. Makeup that you recommend that's come out, makeup you don't recommend that's come out. Like I said, I've been out of it, so give me all kinds of makeup beauty news down below, things you're excited about, things you're not happy with. Just let's open a discourse of fun makeup discussion. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!